not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
Welcome. It's another Tuesday night, and you are sitting here with the good old boys, Billy Allen, Justin Allain, Alex Torti, and Frankie Bratica. You know the names well. And we've got a lot to talk about. The Celtics, they blew a huge opportunity against the Heat with everything wide open in the East. It's fall time, so we got a blame pie going. Who deserves the most in terms of the Celtics losing in the Eastern Conference Finals? Is Eric Spoelstra the best coach in the NBA? And LeBron's continuing another decade with another Finals appearance? As Rex Burkhead in the Pats, the running game got us a W. The defense had a nice week coming back and shutting down Darren Waller. Brady and Gronk looked a little bit better against the Broncos. Russell Wilson is continuing that MVP campaign. But we start out with the Celtics, gentlemen. The Celtics blowing a huge opportunity against the Heat. Everything was set for them. They had everything wide open. No Giannis, no Durant. And Marcus Smart just shot it all away. And I'm tired of it. Gentlemen, that's my opening thought. I want Marcus Smart out of town. I'm passing it around to you guys. What's your opening take from the Celtics?
My opening takeaway is just how frustrating it was to watch. It seemed like every play was a wide-open three-point shot or a Bam Adebayo dunk. We were woefully underprepared and out-schemed. Clearly they had the coaching advantage, and it was just hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get rid of Marcus just yet, Billy. I think he's a stud.
Pack the bags.
Oh, man, come on. We got to give him a break here. But at the same time, we got to come down on him because he cannot be shooting 22 shots. He made less defensive, game-changing plays yesterday than I think he did all series. And in all honesty, I think it's because of how offensively focused he was. That's not his job. That's not his role. And you got to know your role if you want to win a championship.
So I personally feel like, obviously, it was painful to watch. The entire series was just pitiful. But I think the biggest blame from the GM that gets no hate from anybody and gets so much credit for everything is Danny Ainge. Every team we played in the postseason had a decent bench. Our bench is pathetic. And year after year, we have all these draft picks. We never pick the right players. We never trade them away when they should be traded. We have a bunch of rookies off the bench that provided no value. And let's face it, Danny Ainge has failed this team over the past couple of years, I think.
Well, we actually have a clip from Jackie MacMullen talking about what went wrong, and let's let that one play.
By two going into the fourth quarter. Jackie, what happened to them?
Well, I think it's fair to call it a Miami meltdown. I mean, what the Miami Heat did was, behind Bam, they came right at them. And the Celtics panicked, Rachel and Richard. I couldn't believe it as I was watching it. They started to trail a little bit. They started frying up three-pointers, trying to get it all back at once. That's something that a very young, inexperienced team does. I don't really consider the Celtics a young, inexperienced team. So I think for the very long off season that they're going to have, they're going to go back at that fourth quarter and wish they played it differently, especially on the offensive end. Now, I'm the president of the Marcus fan club. You know that, Rachel. I've watched this kid from his rookie on in. But when Marcus Smart takes 22 shots and Jaylen Brown only takes 17 and Kemba Walker only takes 15, your game plan isn't the right game plan.
No, Jackie, I agree. One thing
and we couldn't agree anymore with Jackie. But, I mean, it comes down to this. The Celtics really played like the Houston Rockets in this game. A small team that was just jacking threes, 45 threes in the last game. Just when we had thought they had finally beaten the zone, done a little bit of the dribble drive, getting past and, making plays. We saw so much of that in Game 5. And then in Game 6, it just seemed like when things were tight, when things were close in this series, 5 points down or less, the Celtics were a minus 63. And it just comes down to the Celtics, when things got tight, they shot threes instead of drive into the hole.
Oh, yeah. Total collapse. Game plan thrown out the window. That's not what Brad told them to do. I guarantee you he didn't say, all right, guys, if the game gets close in the fourth quarter, let's just go ahead, take our turns, hucking terrible three-point shots, and hope for the best. That was not the game plan. And, I understand what Jackie's saying. This is an experienced team because they've been there before. Smart and Jalen have led them to, really carry the team to 2 Eastern Conference Finals now, and it's just tough seeing them play like that when it really mattered. They should be better than that now.
They've got no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I'm glad that you brought up Jaylen Brown. Every single game, I watch Jaylen Brown. He starts out hot in the first quarter, and then it's like they forget that he's on the team. Why does Jaylen Brown never get the ball? He's the only guy that goes to the hoop with any aggression. Most times it goes in. And his shooting is, compared to last year, is night and day. And, granted, Marcus Smart should never shoot more than 10 times a game. But Jaylen Brown should get as many shots or just as many as Jason Tatum because his efficiency percentage is off the charts. And it's pathetic that he just gets forgotten every single game.
I think it was also the series for him. Whereas had we gone and played either LA team, I think it would have been a Jason Tatum and a Kemba Walker series. I think this series was hand glove for Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. That it's not that he shouldn't be shooting more than 10 times. It's that when he does, we lose, and when he does not, we win. We're 7-1 in games where he takes 10 or less shots. That's a number that I will live and die by. If you're an intangibles guy, if that's what we overpaid you for, if you're a six-man caliber, I don't need you to shoot the ball 20 times in any game.
Yeah, and just if you're counting, that means that they were 3-6 when Marcus shot more than 10 shots, and it just shows you that I feel like the other two guys, they're not getting theirs when that's happening. When you have Marcus shooting 22 shots, shooting what Jackie was saying, I think 13 shots more than anybody else in the second half, it just really gets everybody out of their funk, and, it just doesn't let the best guys get the most amount of touches on this team. And, guys, when we're looking at it, what do you think the Celtics need to do in this offseason to be able to get back to this point and ultimately get past it? Because we've gotten here before. We need to get past it. What do the Celtics have to do?
See, that's a really complicated question because you have the Brooklyn Nets coming back full strength with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. There's going to be some beasts in the East that weren't there last year. I expect the Bucks to get better. The question is, how good will the Heat be next year? We'll see. But there are, in my mind, 3 teams, and then I guess the 76ers on the outside looking in, not taking them terribly seriously. But this offseason, it's time, Danny. You got to make a big move. I know you've been hoarding your chips. You've been stacking them. You've been waiting for the right moment, seeing what you have in your picks before trading away your young players. But it's time, man. You got to make a big move. You got to bring in an impact big. You got to make that big move this offseason. It's time.
Like you said, it's a complicated question. What I want them to do is either trade Hayward or Smart, but even if Gordon Hayward decides to opt out, we have no money. And this is the hole that Danny's put us in. And, we have all these draft picks every single year. Never trades them away. He'll draft Yabusele and whatever the Zuzac or Zizac, whatever the hell his name is, and we'll stash him overseas when you could have got other players. It's just every year he lets you down in the draft. And if you wanted Tyler Herro that bad in the draft last year, you should have traded some of those first-round picks you had instead of drafting Grant Williams and Romeo Langford, because I don't see either of those players ever being anything but a bench player.
We need a rim protector. That's the short-term fix. That's the short-term answer to your question. But we're also going to find out. We now know what Smart is. He's 6 years in. But for Brown and Tatum, they either each take a step forward or they become more of the same. And if they're more of the same, then this isn't going to work, because they were up at home in Game 7 against Cleveland, and they blew a fourth-quarter lead in every game of this series. So realistically, it's not working, and it's not necessarily a complete overhaul, because we hope that they can grow into something. Like, he's 22 years old. is Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown is 2024, I believe. But it's coming. Judgment Day is coming. We're going to be able to have enough of a sample size to hold these guys accountable.
I just want to say one more thing on Marcus Smart. Yes, he does shoot a lot. But how come no one on the team is telling him not to shoot? Is it Brad Stevens that should be telling him not to shoot? Or is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown just going to step up and be like, dude, you are a defensive player that can hit an occasional three-point shooter. You should be shooting 10 times a game. He'll dribble the ball up with 24 seconds on the clock, and he'll hook up a three with about 5 seconds taken out of that clock. It's pathetic, and it always turns us into an opposite run for the other team.
And I think that's exactly it. I think that a lot of people are starting to wonder, does the message from Brad start to get lost? Because clearly Brad's not going into halftime, or at least when he takes that timeout with 7 minutes left and they're down by 6 points, do you think he said, all right, guys, tighten up and just shoot from three? No way did he tell Marcus Smart to do that, So you start to wonder, Brad's obviously telling these guys how to beat the zone. Are these guys listening to Brad, and is Brad's message getting through to these guys? You got to start to wonder, because I feel like the way that Brad coaches and the way that some of these guys responded in this series, it just didn't seem like Brad had the ear of these guys.
Clearly, it was obvious in this series, the disconnect between the coach and team. If you think his plan was Jason Tatum dribble the ball 20 times and then take a 30-foot shot at the end of game one, you're wrong. And it just got worse and worse. Every fourth quarter got worse and worse. It was almost like the same script was written every game. For a Boston team to get out-toughed and blow a lead every game in a series is monumentally rare. And that's what makes it so frustrating. And that's where you see there's clearly a disconnect between – no coach told his team to tighten up like that in the fourth quarter. Every game. No coach told his NBA players, you don't know how to play against the zone, I got nothing for you. That didn't happen. But obviously, when it becomes iso ball and nobody really, you have the same formula all three quarters: drive and kick. That's how you beat the zone. That's how you beat the Heat. And then every fourth quarter, you just become hero ball. It doesn't work like that. It didn't work. It'll work in some series. This wasn't that series.
No, definitely not that series. We are not going to be able to outshoot the Miami Heat and come away with a win. It's just not happening.
I've never played a minute of basketball in my entire life, but I think I know it from watching it. I could tell what was going wrong in all the losses we had, and then the games that we won, what was working right. Attacking the zone. When we started losing and started giving all those leads, we started playing hero basketball, and it was so obvious to everybody. How come Brad Stevens does not call a timeout when they're starting to play that basketball again? It never, ever works. And I put that blame on Brad.
And I think you have to put a ton of blame on Ainge also, because he just hasn't been putting the right pieces together. He's been hoarding picks. Justin, you talked about it, whether it's been Zizic, Yabusele, you name it, we've hoarded it. And it's been that way over the last 5 years. There haven't been any trade deadline deals. You look at a team like Miami, and did we think Andre Iguodala was going to have the biggest impact? No, not really. But in Game 6, He made 5 threes when it really counted, and the Celtics haven't made any type of move like that. Not saying that you need to get the best big in the world. If we just need to get somebody that can stuff a couple shots, some type of oaf who can stand out there and do something more than Robert Williams can. And was it really that hard to get a guy like that at the trade deadline? So you certainly have to wonder. Feels like Danny Ainge is never willing to make the move to put this team over the top. It seems like he's never 100% confident that this is the team and that he's got to put all of his chips in the center of the table. I don't feel like he did that this year.
We had that big guy. We traded him during the draft this year. Aaron Baines fit this team well, and his defensive efficiency was top 10 last year. I mean, why did we trade him for nothing? Him being on the court and starting means Daniel Theis is what he is. He is a bench player. He's a role player. He is not a starter. And Daniel Theis got owned in every series we played in. It was so obvious. And Robert Williams just is not there yet. I don't know what it is. He gets lost on defensive plays all the time. He has his occasional block, his occasional alley-oop, but other than that, he's just kind of there. He doesn't do anything.
The Celtics have a ton of talent. I think that they must be reaching their breaking point, where they have to say, all right, this is on us. Like, we have to be better. Making three out of 4 straight Eastern Conference Finals I mean, it looks good on paper, but at the end of the day, you could be in the NBA Finals, and you should be in the NBA Finals.
Hold on that thought, Alex. We got one ringing through. Hi, you're live with Open Season. Who do we got?
Yo, it's Whitey from Queens.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
The moment you've been dreading all week.
We were all so bullish on the Celtics last week. Talking to us when they were down 2-1, you would have thought last week when you called in that the Celtics were up. But here we are, somebody that was pretty practical, Matt White.
Guys, I know ball, bro. Like I know, but like I watched this Heat team, and I just had faith in them just by watching how they play. Like, you guys were clowning me last week. Like, oh, crazy Whitey with this crazy takes. And not only did I get it right, I got the exact game right. I said it could go 7, but I got the Heat in 6.
Famous last words.
I tried to tell y'all, bro. Guys, I tried to tell y'all about the Heat. You didn't listen.
Did you know that Andre Iguodala was going to hit 5 threes in Game 6?
I didn't know that, but didn't I say AI is a great locker room presence?
No.
And then what does he do? He comes alive in the clinching game.
But
So
you
he's
also
a vet.
compared
He's
Bam
a
to
vet.
Shaq. You also did
He's a
compare
professional
Bam to
basketball
Shaq.
player.
The elephant in the room is Bam the second coming of Shaq.
I think I think
All
Frank
right,
is still kind of
that's the only-
short-circuited from last week.
Yeah,
Frank's
the
neurons
only
still
thing
haven't
I
gone
wasn't
back to the right part where they were last week before you said that comment.
The only thing I didn't completely nail is by being a little bit hyperbolic about Bam. I mean, I'll admit it. He's not. I said he's a second coming Shaq, which I don't think he'll ever be as good as Shaq, but he just reminds me of Shaq. That's all. That's why I said that. Like, all right, picture this. If
He looked more like
I mean,
Magic
yeah,
Johnson in that last game, I'd say. All that point forward.
yeah, which one of you guys said he couldn't pass? Allain, you said he couldn't pass as well as Shaq.
No, I never said that. I said, I mean, the free throws compared to Shaq is night and day. He can actually hit them.
No, I remember, dude, because I had this blocked in my mental memory. Like, you said he can't dribble or pass like Shaq.
He still can't.
Well, I mean, he did win the skills competition, Whitey, so I give you some credit.
Yeah, he
Bam
can
is a
dribble. He's got
fantastic
handle.
player.
He's got
But
handle. He's
comparing-
got court vision.
Yeah, just comparing him to Shaq is not the right comparison. I definitely think that Bam has the potential to one day. I mean, if he continues at this pace, be a Hall of Famer.
All right, so Whitey, what would the numbers be if Shaq was playing against Daniel Tice for a whole game?
He would score a lot more points.
And a lot more rebounds.
Put it this way, though. Like, if you think he's not as good of a passer as Shaq, do you realize he had more assists this year than Shaq has ever had in a single season in his career?
Yes, but he's
I
not.
don't think anyone's doubting the whole passer thing. It's more like Shaq is the most dominant person that we've seen play the game for a 4 to 5 year span. And, aside from Wilt Chamberlain, so I think it just kind of comes down to that, Whitey. We're just like, all flabbergasted that out of all the people, the guy that you're going to choose to put up in that is Bam Adebayo. So that I think that's why.
No, I know. Like, I don't know. He's just built different. Like, if you look at all the big men in this league, they're all like 3-point. They're all completely opposite of what Shaq was. They're all 3-point shooting bigs who like camp out behind the 3-point line. Like, Bam is like the rare guy to dominate down low, pass the ball, get blocks, protect the rim, and you don't see that really in a lot of these bigs this day. So like that's why he reminded me of Shaq, and he's also a Heat player. Like, the last time I saw a center on the Heat dominating with Shaq. So I admit I was a bit hyperbolic, but
so speaking of
Shaq, only one center in the league had more assists than him this year, and that was Joker. And Joker is arguably the best passing big of all time.
Look, I don't think we're getting into the whole passing thing. Let's go from Shaq and let's go to the Lakers and the finals here. What do you see happening in the finals, Whitey?
All right. As I communicated, I'm really high in the Heat, but I don't think, like, I'm going to be real. I don't think they're going to beat the Lakers. I mean, it's just like LeBron and AD. It's just too much. I'm really intrigued by the Bam and AD matchup, though, because I think Bam will guard him real well down low. I'm not sure how well he'll guard him, like when AD is like camping out behind the three, like all the big men do nowadays. And I think Jimmy will D up LeBron, and he'll D him up as hard as he can. But I don't know. I think LeBron is just on a mission this year, and with Kobe's recent death, I think the whole team is just inspired. Like, the legacy of Kobe, and they're all balling out.
Well,
so
Lord,
I got to be real. Like, I knew they'd beat the Celtics, but I don't got them beating the Lakers. No more extremely hot takes for me this week.
Lord knows that you're a Knicks fan and that you've had to blow that team up plenty of times over the years. What would you do if you were the Celtics, White?
Well, it'd help if you had a guy like Bam on that team, huh? Talking about you need rim protecting. I don't know. I mean, coming from a Knicks fan, I'm just pissed that you guys are bitching and moaning about the Celtics, and the Knicks haven't been good. They've been good twice in the last 20 years.
But your owners,
I don't know what you need. I think
that's because your third
when
pick was R.J. Barrett and ours was Jason Tatum.
And your owner's inherently unlikable. He's an insufferable douche.
And Frank Ntilikina, or whatever, however you pronounce it.
We could have had Donovan Mitchell. We could have had
Frank Ntilikina is still shooting 32% from the. He's the only guy shooting less than Marcus Smart.
I'll tell you.
Do you still like Marcus Smart, Whitey? I know you were pretty big on him in the Raptors series.
I like his passion. I like his like I said, he's a killer. But didn't I also say he bricks too many threes? And that's exactly what he did.
He killed us. He's a killer. He killed us. 22 shots. 22 shots from Marcus.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one thing. The Knicks and Celtics have in common. They wish they drafted Tyler Herro this year.
Yeah. Was I not just beautifully accurate on Tyler Herro? Literally the next day he drops 37 after I called this kid an utter stud.
Okay.
Whitey loves guys that lead the league in swag. His other favorite player is Zach LaVine. I swear.
Can we walk back undeniable stud? He's in a bubble. He didn't play any away games. He's 20 years old. The great thing about NBA players is they're good right away, so we have this upward trajectory that we assume they're going to be on. Not every player gets there. Trae Young may not get there, but we assume he'll be the next Steph Curry. Can we just slow down on Tyler Herro? Because eventually people are going to get film on him, and he's going to need to put on weight and learn to shoot with that new weight. Because he's not going to go through 20 years NBA basketball at sub 200 pounds.
The other Splash brother, Duncan Robinson, legit looks like someone's accountant, and he's just draining threes. Like, who the hell is Duncan Robinson? Where are all these guys coming from? Pat Riley is a phenomenal GM.
That's what I'm saying. The Heat have succeeded in the complete opposite way that all modern NBA teams succeed. Like, they just sign people off the street. They signed Kendrick Nunn off the street, Duncan Robinson off the street.
Yep.
And
people laughed at Jimmy Butler.
Identify talent and develop talent better than anybody. And all they need to do is, sign one free agent. That's it. Jimmy Butler to bring everything together. And it's just it's the anti, what the Sixers have done. Trust the process. No, they're consistently winning, and they're hitting jackpots with the 13th pick every year. Sir.
Well, Whitey, we definitely appreciate you touching in with us from Long Base and all the way down there in Queens. We appreciate it. You killing us. Any final thoughts before we let you go tonight?
Just that, hey, you guys got to be appreciative of me, man. I'm putting the Yankees game on the side right now. We're we're absolutely laying it. We're crushing Bieber right now. For the first time this whole year, Bieber's been getting crushed. I'm occupied trying to explain the Heat to you guys.
Well, hey, we appreciate you breaking it down in layman's terms so that we can understand it. And we got to admit when we were wrong. From open season to you had it right. But thanks for touching in tonight, Whitey, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, fellas. Good talking to you guys.
So, yeah, I mean, I haven't really said this ever in my life, but Whitey was right. He obviously got that one right, fellas, and I think to kind of flip the page and to get on, with LeBron, he continues another finals appearance, and if LeBron wins this, are we going to be back to, I think Jordan put the discussions about him versus LeBron kind of to bed with his documentary, but if LeBron wins another championship in another town, are we putting LeBron back up there with MJ? Is the debate back on?
Isn't the debate over? The best basketball player to ever play the game is LeBron. He's been at his apex his entire career. The greatest winner in sports ever, the greatest basketball player ever, is Michael Jordan. That's not fence riding. LeBron, if you were to create a basketball player, size, attributes, he checks every box. But Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time because if you let him get 7 games to beat you 4 times, he was going to do it at a rate that no other player has ever done it in maybe any other sport.
If the Lakers win this, and LeBron is the one that's leading him to it, not Anthony Davis, then potentially. But if Anthony Davis is having a monster series as the MVP, I mean, I don't think any of the titles that Jordan won, Pippen won them the series.
I'm tired of all the LeBron ball washing. It's I mean, listen, if he wins this, I'll put him in the conversation with Kobe, Bird, Magic. I'll put him in with those guys, Tim Duncan. He's not even beyond those guys yet. You could make an argument for any of those guys against LeBron right now.
Can you?
The most talented player potentially to ever play the game, physical gifts. I mean, LeBron, yeah, you can make that argument, but greatest player ever, I just don't think he's even beyond those guys yet. I don't even know if he's in my top 5.
I think we're all getting it wrong.
LeBron's not in your top 5. Come on, you're
I don't
sounding
know
like
if he's
Paul
in my-
Pierce up here.
I don't know if he's in my top 5. I mean, how many times has he lost in the finals? How many great players, Hall of Famers, has he
Jerry
teamed
West
up
is
with?
like 1-8
How
in the
many-
finals. I mean, I'm just saying.
How many
so,
team?
Tom Brady's
would you
like 2 games
Would
over
you
500.
rather have him not get to the finals every year?
Thank you.
Or like
Thank
he gets
you.
as far as you possibly can, and he's taken the 2 worst Cleveland teams. Those were 2 of the worst rated teams since like the 50s or
He
whatever.
took Ira Newble to the finals.
Yes. Would you rather him not take and not have those finals losses?
It was a completely depleted East, first off. So congrats to him on making it out of the East.
He beat a pretty good Pistons team coming off of a championship year 2 years removed. That team was in the middle of making 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, he absolutely destroyed them, and they weren't themselves, obviously. But anyway, I'm 100% on the side of saying he's teamed up with all these guys. If he had won more championships with the Heat, if he had beaten the Mavericks, if he had beaten, the Spurs twice, like if he had not won more with the Cavs, I just absolutely think that, you're looking at a guy who's teamed up with some of the best players to ever play the game here, and I think we're just giving him a little bit too much credit.
I'm the biggest LeBron hater probably in the world, but to not put him in your top 5 is kind of crazy. Not even in your top 3. I mean, he's the greatest player in the past 20 years. And, I mean, to be getting the NBA Finals this many times with 3 different teams, it's remarkable. But I still take Jordan over LeBron even if he wins this title.
He's won the MVP 4 times and finished in second 4 times. I mean, think about how dominant that is as well. I mean, it's just like nobody's got near that many MVPs that they finished second and first. I mean, I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the most ever at 6. But, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like LeBron is insanely dominant over his stretch as well. And at 35, he's playing at a level that, he was playing at when he was 25, leading the league in assists. And he's not like on the back of Anthony Davis. He's making these crucial defensive plays against Murray at the end of the game. Murray's, 23 years old? I mean, so I just think the story of LeBron this year has been incredible too. And I think if he wins it on a 3rd team, I mean, no one's even been close. People are ready to put Kawhi Leonard up there if he won a championship. People are say they'd put him in the top 15. So if LeBron wins this one, I mean, how can he not be up there fighting against Jordan?
Oh, if he wins this one, he's in my top 5, 100%.
Oh, that's so noble of you.
Yep. If he wins this one,
what
he's
a
in my
big
top
stretch.
5.
The conversation.
Listen,
Go ahead.
If you take some of the other greatest players in NBA history and they're just jumping around playing with some of the other greatest players in the league at the same time,
they didn't have to because
Hold
they were
on,
already
hold on,
on
can I
those
just-
teams. Hold on, just 1 second. They were already on great teams. The Celtics, they were already paired up well, like Larry Bird, all them. Chicago, Jordan got Pippen. I mean, the Lakers, look how many Hall of Famers were on there. None of these guys had to move. It's easy for Larry Bird and for Magic Johnson to say they never had to go anywhere, but look at some guys like Charles Barkley who chased rings all over the place and couldn't get them. It's just – so I think that these teams, they can argue that because they didn't have to move anywhere.
Right, but how many championships does Kobe win if he teams up with Dirk Nowitzki?
He
and,
had Shaq.
Yes, after Shaq left, though, what did Kobe didn't just go and team up with all the best players he could find? Like LeBron has.
You don't think that the NBA just traded? They kind of just gave them Marcus. They gave him Pau Gasol for Marc Gasol, who was a nobody at the time, and Javaris Crittenton or whatever else they wanted to throw in there. The NBA gifted them a trade, I would say.
They took away Chris Paul from the Lakers. The NBA was doing Kobe no favors. where they've done LeBron nothing but favors. From what I could see.
For the record, if Bosch and Wade were healthy, LeBron would have one more ring. You can't say he gets less credit for having those great players and not say, hey, that last time they faced the Spurs, Dwayne Wade was awful. Chris Bosch couldn't get on the court with those blood clots. Like, if you're going to say that we take some of the sheen off because of who he's played with, well, how about Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving both not being healthy for the first Warrior series? Like, if you're going to take some of that sheen off him, can you at least be honest about it? Like, we have a very large sample size, and you can't talk about other players not playing with great players. That's ridiculous. Everybody who's won, there's 3 teams in the NBA that have made more than 10 finals appearances, and then there's LeBron.
Kobe?
For him to not be in your top 5 is like, it's mind-boggling. It's so stupid. It's laughable.
I feel like LeBron gets a lot of the same hate that like Brady had when he was with the Pats. You just get sick of seeing the same person in the finals every single year. And I mean, when you're a Pats fan, you love it because it's like we're in the finals every year.
But you don't hold it against Brady that he lost to Philadelphia. You don't hold it against Brady that he lost those Super Bowls.
I don't hold the finals loss to the Warriors when it was just him against the big 3. Like that wasn't his fault, and he actually carried them. That was the most impressive finals appearance I've seen him in his entire career.
16 was the best LeBron.
So that's the only time we can give him credit. Is when it's 1-on-3 against the Warriors.
I'm not saying
I
that.
mean, Kobe beat the Celtics with just Paul Gasol and some other guys.
Paul Gasol is going to be
Lamar
a
Odom was not another guy. Andrew Bynum was not another guy.
And Andrew Bynum.
They were
Andrew
not other
Bynum
guys.
was putting up like 22 and 10 at the time.
They were not other guys.
Javier Pena says give the LeBron the credit and respect he deserves. And who do you know that's made the finals 10 consecutive times? I think I like this guy.
Bill Russell.
And Nick Smith says that Shaq would have put up 50 and 25. I like that.
Against Tice? Is that going?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
He
yeah.
put up 36 and 16 against real centers. So
remember what he
against
used to
Tice-
do to Scott Pollard? Imagine what he would do to Tice. I mean, he would just thrust him 2 times and then just dunk on him.
Do you remember what he used to do to everybody? He did it to, like, the Admiral. He did it to Duncan.
I used to just look forward, though, to those Kings games when Pollard would be going against him. I just know that Pollard would have to play 30 minutes and just get his ass, slammed by Shaq. He used to just look forward to that.
Well, Divac tried as well. He didn't fare much better.
That's true. So guys, real quick, the Nuggets, obviously they were, they deserve to be talked about a little bit. They had a couple pretty impressive 3-1 comebacks, and eventually, you get down 3-1 again against the Lakers, and that's pretty tough to do, to come back from that. But improvements that they have to make and what to expect moving forward. For me, I think that this is going to be a team that can stay like in that second seed or whatever. I think Michael Porter Jr. is an absolute stud. They're kind of just adding him to the mix. So I think this is a young team that's going to be able to contend for years. But what say you?
The way the team is set right now is great, and they're young. They're going to get better. But the problem is that obviously Jokic and Murray are already locked up, but Porter's going to need a contract soon. He missed. Is this his 3rd year or 2nd year in the league? He's going to become a free agent in a couple years. And then they have all those bench players, the shooting guards off the bench. They're all great players, good role players, but they're going to want to get paid too. So this team's going to slowly fall apart. I feel like the window that they need to get in is now. I mean, Millsap's a free agent this year. He'll probably be gone. I think they need some more veteran players too because it's a very young team.
They'll be fine. They're in a wonderful position. Michael Porter Jr. is an absolute stud. Jokic and Murray are the absolute truths. They'll be fine.
Well, there you have it. There's some pretty succinct analysis from Frankie B.
I think the Nuggets are going to absolutely be back. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
All right. Now, how about finals predictions from everybody before we turn the page to the NFL? If I got to say it, I'll say Lakers in 6.
Yeah, man, it's 6 or 7. Lakers and the Heat though, if Jimmy Butler and Bam can keep it close with LeBron and AD, I feel like the supporting cast that the Heat has is so much more explosive and they can get hot. But I think a 7-game series and the Lakers taking it in 7.
I'm going to go against all of that and say the Heat in 7. And I say that because not only they're shooting, I think Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA, and I feel like he gets no credit whatsoever. Obviously, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 games where LeBron and AD go completely off.
Yep.
But I feel like every other game is going to be close because the Heat don't back down. No matter what the lead is, they come back, they claw in. And when their three-point shooters are hot, who's going to guard Dragic on? Is it going to be Rondo? Because Dragic is a beast. Like, I didn't even know he was that good. He's a pain in the ass to watch with all the flops and everything. But that guy's consistent. Bam probably will not have a good series. But if their shooters get hot, I think it can go 7. I think the NBA wants LeBron, so it'll probably be the Lakers. But
yes,
I'm picking the Heat in 7.
And I want the Heat to win. Don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for the Heat in this series. But if LeBron is 3-10 in the finals, I mean, guys, what do you even say at that point?
It's not going to change anyone's view.
I don't
of
think it's
LeBron.
going to change anything. I really don't. It's been this many. It's kind of like at this point is another Super Bowl appearance going to change anything for Tom Brady? I mean,
Lakers in 5. Let's turn the page to the NFL.
Absolutely. So the NBA, that was brought to you by our sponsors, and we have a quick word from our sponsors with Alex.
Yes, the Guru Club. So today's show is sponsored by the Guru Club. If you have an Instagram account and you like to shop, check out their website, guru.club, and find brands that will give you cash back on products you love just for posting a story to your Instagram and tagging the brand. Guru.club, shop, share, and get paid.
Hell yeah, sounds easy enough. Well, guys, the Patriots with a pretty, I guess, it just wasn't that exciting of a win, but it was a nice win against the Oakland Raiders, and they really got things going on the running game. They ran for over 250 yards, but really, not a whole lot to take away from this one. The defense played a little bit better, but I think we're all really looking forward to the Chiefs game this weekend. You guys happen to catch what Pat Mahomes is doing down there in Kansas City?
How do you not catch it? Last night's game was unbelievable. I mean, Pat is just so dominant. I don't know if we've ever seen a quarterback this dominant on the gridiron. It's absurd watching him. Part of it's the offense around him and what they're doing with him, but it's just absolutely insane. I don't think we've ever seen another player be this consistently dominant from the start of his career on. Yes, Tom won a lot of games, won a lot of Super Bowls, but the way Pat is just manipulating the field at such a young age, it's second to none. I mean, I think he has a real legit chance to go down as the greatest of all time.
What is so frustrating about Patrick Mahomes is he still gets fooled. Like, he still makes, I know he's in his 3rd year, but he still makes, like, sophomore starter mistakes, and he still can score 24 points in 6 minutes. I mean, he's Favrean. He's got Rodgers to him, but he's got a Super Bowl victory 3 years in. Like, it really is. It's uncanny. And he makes like mistakes, and he makes them well enough to not be picked, or he makes horrible throws cross body 60 yards hash mark to hash mark. But he's got the arm juice to get it there, and he's got the receivers fast enough to run underneath it. So even his bad mistakes are being maximized because he's got the perfect coach and the perfect cast of talent around him.
This week's going to be a very, very bad week, I think, for the Patriots. I mean, if Pat Mahomes did that to the best defense last night, how the hell are we going to stop? The only way we can win is if we just run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, and we have 1 or 2 turnovers. But we got lit up by Russell Wilson last week. The defense looked okay last week, but the Raiders, I don't care what anyone says, they suck.
Can I tell you how we're going to try?
We're going to try to run the ball.
We're going to let No Sean Moreno rush for 200 yards and not let Peyton throw the ball. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to let them run. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might rush for 200. Whatever the over-under is on his rush yards, take it. Because we're going to do whatever we can to keep Mahomes from throwing the ball as best we can.
Yeah, and listen to us all kind of talking about the fact that what we're going to do is run the ball. They've really, it was Cam with his first disappointing game with the Pats. And I think a lot of people kind of shut their mouths with the $30 million extension talk, right? So Cam obviously needs to play a little bit better in order for them to have a chance. But I think that they absolutely have to run the ball here. And, guys, I guess we thought that in order for this offense to be good, Cam had to be good. So what does it say for a team that ekes out a 16-point – or not ekes out, but soundly beats by 16 points the Raiders, with Cam, who really didn't perform that well. 162 yards, didn't look pretty.
The Raiders just beat the Saints the week before. Yes, the Saints didn't have Michael Thomas, but the Raiders had just beaten the Saints. This isn't the Raiders team of last year. This is a good football team, a lot of good pieces. They were missing a Henry Ruggs this week. I think that hurt them a little bit in terms of stretching the field. But what the Patriots did was they came in and they won. It wasn't the most exciting win we've seen. It wasn't a blow-up offensive performance. But what have we seen from the Patriots historically? We've seen a lot of these types of games, and each win counts the same. So I liked what I saw, and I think that we're gonna I think that we're definitely gonna go the run the ball, keep it out of Mahomes' game plan, and try to make them run the ball game plan this week. I don't think we're gonna win, but I think that's the move.
But so when Brady was here, there were many games where, like against the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, the Chargers in the AFC divisional round, the game plan was we're going to run the ball. It goes game by game. The week before, the Seahawks secondary was all banged up, and he was throwing all over them. But last week, the game plan was clear. We're going to run the ball and keep running the ball and running the ball. Rex Burkhead had a great game. I'm not thinking that Cam had a bad game. I just think that the game plan was to run the ball. And
you don't think Cam played bad?
I don't think he played. You're making it seem like he threw 4 interceptions.
I'm just saying it didn't look too good. I mean, I think J.J. Taylor is really what brought that offense alive, and I'll be honest with you, I feel like if the Raiders weren't spilling the ball on the ground so often, then the Raiders could have been up 21-0 in that game.
I agree with you there. I don't think Cam Newton necessarily had a bad game per se. He wasn't the reason why the game wasn't close in the beginning. I don't think. I think a lot of it had to do with McDaniel's play calling, doing these stupid screen passes and all this other crap when it's like 2nd and 9. It just putting ourselves in a hole. Stick with the game plan that works. I mean, Cam Newton didn't even run the ball that much last game, which is a good thing for us for health reasons.
Right, and I think that comes into play at some point. We got to keep Cam healthy if we actually want to be a contender this year.
We have to keep Julian Edelman healthy if we want to be a contender.
Neither one is going to stay healthy. So use all of them as much as you can. Neither one of those guys is playing 16 full healthy games. Sorry, it's just nope. So I'm not worried about conserving them because, again, no matter what we think, I think Bill thinks he can win with Brian Hoyer. And when you see a game like the Raiders game, that's the game that reinforces that. Because let's face it, we said no Waller, no Jacobs, what you got, and they didn't do anything. They did nothing. That same team that just beat the Saints didn't do anything. They had no counterpunch for we're going to make you play left-handed. And that's a Bill win. And I'll tell you what, with Brady, that's like 50-14. We've seen a bunch of those 42-10 games in the last 20 years because that's what happens when you have the quarterback to match it. We don't quite have that caliber of quarterback, but with Joe Average playing quarterback, we're going to be good because we have the best coach in the league.
Yeah, and I think, with the Pats kind of going up against a high-octane offense like the Chiefs this weekend, it makes you think, what do the Pats need more at this point? Another wide receiver, another linebacker? And I think with all the things that Cam is doing to help these young receivers, being on the same page, being able to, still target N'Keal Harry for all those times and kind of speak to the fact that he's doing all right and all the things that Cam's doing as far as bringing these young receivers along, it's still not increasing the talent. And I think there's a huge talent gap at wide receiver. We don't know if Edelman's going to be able to stay healthy. I think they've got to make some type of move to get another wideout in here. You guys think they need another wide receiver, another linebacker? What are you guys doing to shore up this team?
I mean, if it depends on how we want to play it, I think I'd personally love to see some life out of our tight end position. I think that's an area for improvement. Maybe these young third round guys have just needed a little bit more seasoning before they get deployed, but I think that's where I want to see someone be able to come in, block, catch the ball. I know we're not going to get another Gronk handed to us, but if we were able to make a trade for a guy like Zach Ertz, who Philly is probably in getting very close to blow up mode. If we made a trade for a guy like Zach Ertz, I think that makes us a serious championship contender.
We need another receiver. I have zero faith in N'Keal Harry. I think N'Keal Harry honestly sucks at this point. Like, for a first-round draft pick, he cannot get open off the line. They have to set up trick plays for him to get open. And before that last drive in the Seahawks game, he was terrible. Let's not forget week 1, that stupid fumble that cost us a touchdown. I don't have no faith in him, and I don't really have any faith in Bird either. He runs the same route every single time, 10-yard out. That's all he does. And if Julian Edelman is 34 and he's banged up, who is he going to throw the ball to with any confidence? I don't. They need to get a receiver, whether it be an older veteran like a Marvin Jones, someone that can catch the ball.
Okay, so let's be realistic. We do not need another wide receiver under any circumstances. We'll be fine. The offensive system is advanced enough and in place enough. It will score 24 points roughly a game, no matter who's playing, no matter who's out there. The defense legitimately can't stop anybody. And the 2011 Super Bowl is one of the most frustrating times I've ever had as a Pats fan because we couldn't get off the field on third down, and this is the early remnants of something like that. Yeah, this defense is tough to watch. It's like waiting for the most conservative defense to still not be able to guard anybody. It's tough. You don't see a lot of creativity, which is the one thing I thought we'd see on both sides of the ball this year, and I haven't seen it on defense. You need to get a player back there because right now it looks like you have none.
I'd say the only guy it looks like they have is Chase Winovich, right? I mean, he's been one bright spot for this team that he's pretty young, and we've kind of said that that Belichick has got to be able to hit on a lot of these picks. And it looks like, with Winovich, he's been able to do that. I'd still like to see some of these young guys come on a little bit. Kyle Duggar, Josh Uche, he hasn't been able to play yet.
He's on the IR now.
Oh, he's on the IR now?
Duggar's the only one that looks like he's any good.
Yeah, Duggar looks good.
No,
they're bringing him
think
along,
Uche's gonna be good.
and I think Belichick is letting people know that he likes Duggar because you heard Tony Romo talking about him, and he only played 25 snaps this week. So where's that coming from? It's probably coming from Bill. I think Bill might like this kid, and it looks like he may have hit on a couple of his young defenders.
I'll say one thing about last year's draft too. Well, I mean, I know Joaquin. I don't know how to say his first name. Joaquin Williams.
Juwan.
Juwan.
Yep, I didn't take Spanish. So he looked pretty decent the first 3 games, covering the tight end. I mean, he covering Darren Waller last game for the majority of the game. I thought
there was a lot of safety help.
Did anyone else feel like
and a lot of
Darren
chipping
Waller
help.
was still open a lot, but they just didn't actually get the ball over there? I felt like Carr was under so much duress, he just didn't even see Waller. But I felt like Waller wasn't even necessarily shut down. I mean, we're going to give Belichick all the credit, but it didn't really seem to me like he was like shut down. I felt like they just couldn't get the ball over there.
He was open in windows that Derek Carr can't fit the ball into, which again goes back to coaching. He was plenty open, but he was in between 2 levels of the defense, and I'm not sure Derek Carr can make that throw, and neither is Derek Carr. That's why they didn't call the plays for him. That's why he didn't take a lot of deep post shots to Darren Waller, which were there to be had.
Man,
go ahead.
Waller's a hell of a story, huh? Total drug addict, booze bag, piece of trash, turning his life around, becoming arguably, a top 3 tight end in the NFL.
Yeah, he's
right
got
now.
some Josh Hamilton to him, but will he last? Because Hamilton didn't.
I'd
These
like to
stories
see
are
us
always
get him.
nice, but they don't last too long historically.
Yeah.
And it's so it's so typical that Oakland gets this guy too, right? Because
Oakland or
he's-
Dallas
he's-
had to be.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Las Vegas.
Obviously, the guy with off the field problems is with Oakland. So Aldon Smith. I mean, you add
Aldon Smith looks very good in 3 games for a guy who didn't play the sport for 5 years. He's got a sack a game.
I know. I mean, that guy was like, as a rookie, I mean, that guy was on pace to be a Hall of Famer his first 2 years. His first 2 years in the league, he was like an All-Pro. I think he was like 15 and 19 sacks. So it's crazy. He's got a lot of raw talent, and we saw it with guys like Josh Gordon taking 5 years off. It's pretty amazing, guys that can take 5 years off the NFL and still be able to come back and contribute. It's pretty amazing, I would say so.
It's absurd.
He plays linebacker and with his head to the ground. He plays lineman and linebacker after not playing for 5 years. That takes balls.
I thought I was impressed when Pierre-Paul came back from blowing his finger off, but 5 years without being in the game is definitely extremely impressive.
Yeah, 31 years old, he's making his comeback to the NFL, and he looks like he's one of the better edge defenders in the entire league. It's crazy.
Another one. Let's see if it lasts.
That's a fair point.
Well, another thing that we'll have to see if it lasts is Brady and Gronk. They looked a little bit better this week against the Broncos. They were in sync. Brady had his first Brady-esque game, I would say. 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And Gronk got in there for 6 catches and 50 yards. So Gronk was really used a lot more than he had in the first 2 games. He only had 2 catches for 11 yards. So with Brady and Gronk looking a little bit better against the Broncos, I think guys, we're also seeing that they're playing in a pretty weak division. But I think that this team is definitely going to get together. Chris Godwin goes out again, so they're not going to be totally operating in sync. But Mike Evans, 2 catches, 2 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gotta like that stat line. Looks like the Buccaneers might be putting something together here.
I'm honestly a little bit. I know Brady. I watched the game. He looked better than he has the previous 2 games. I am a bit worried though about their receivers. Godwin being hurt. Mike Evans is definitely hurt. I mean, you can't rely on 32-year-old Gronk and O.J. Howard to lead, and Ronald Jones didn't look anything spectacular. I mean, I was watching goal line possessions where it's the same old Brady's shotgun on a 1-yard line. Like, just run the damn ball in. Like, give it to Leonard Fournette.
You can't get stats that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Justin.
It's like, come on, man. What are you doing? And granted, let's also take into effect it was the Broncos with no secondary whatsoever, and he played the Panthers the week before with no secondary whatsoever.
He didn't leave New England to hand the ball off, Justin.
I've been very clear about
Yeah,
this.
it's very true.
The middle fingers between Bill and Brady all year are what I'm most looking forward to. And getting Edelman a career high in passing and receiving yards was on Bill's to-do list. And after it comes out that Gronk is a blocking tight end, you don't think that Bill was in Jeter's backyard with Rob just working on routes. It was very abundantly clear they wanted Rob to catch the goddamn ball.
Yeah, they were really trying to force feed it in there. Gronk should have had a TD, Josh Dodd says, but Brady had just missed him. And Xavier Pena asked if Earl Thomas is a good pickup. Well, it seems like he wasn't the best pickup for the Texans because it seems like he had a visit with them and they didn't come away with any type of agreement. Would you guys take Earl Thomas on for this defense?
Locker room poison. And I'm not one who generally believes in that in sports because if you have the talent, you're absolutely worth it. But he is on a dangerous and vicious downward spiral with his play being the same. So that lets you know there's something wrong there. Pete Carroll let him go. There's something wrong there. John Harbaugh let him go. There's something wrong there. These are not the coaches that are going to let talent go because they're working in the locker room. There's something there.
I haven't really heard any clips of Belichick fawning over Earl Thomas, the way he did Ed Reed, but I would love to see.
He didn't fawn over anybody like he did Ed Reed.
No, but I think Earl is one of the greatest safeties that we've seen in the past 10 years for sure.
Like ever.
Yeah, the thing is, you watch the tape on him trying to tackle Derrick Henry in the postseason last year and the way he just gives up. As soon as you see a player's heart isn't in it like that, I don't think you take a chance on a guy like him.
If Jerry Jones hasn't signed him yet, then there must be something wrong. He's been trying to go to the Cowboys for 4 years now, and Jerry Jones will sign anyone, no matter if they're a murderer, if they've had terrible off-the-field issues, he'll sign anyone. So there's something clearly there that's not working for him on and off the field because it seemed like before he had that blow-up with the Ravens were starting to put the backup in first-team snaps over Earl Thomas. So,
well, guys, we've had the debate before, and, after last night's game where Lamar Jackson again kind of comes up short, I think it's, 0-3 against the Chiefs. He called them his kryptonite, which if I was the coach, I would have cringed pretty hard during that. And, Lamar Jackson, he's been extremely efficient against teams outside of the Chiefs, but what do we say about Lamar Jackson and his ability to get an actual passing game down and be able to compete with some of these more high-octane offenses and not from a position where they get the ball out, from running the ball and get a 10-point lead up because it seems like that's really where he's most comfortable. Do you think he's ever going to be comfortable enough to, get back and pass?
Yes. I if this doesn't help them, if this isn't the wake-up call, the Ravens need to go and sign AB. He's cousins with Hollywood Brown. He's been working with Lamar Jackson in the offseason. You put AB into this offense with the Ravens, they can hang with the Chiefs. They have the firepower to beat the Chiefs. Right now, they've got one guy you need to shut down on long touchdowns and one guy you need to shut down on intermediate routes. They have Mark Andrews from the tight end position, and they've got Marquise Hollywood-Brown, who's really their only game breaker at wide receiver. You add another guy into that mix like AB to take that area of the field between the tight end and that deep shot wide receiver, and man, it's going to do wonders for this team.
He's not the quarterback for AB. AB's not the guy for that locker room. No, 1,000 times no. I don't know where AB goes, but it's not a team that likes each other and is already a favorite to win. It's just not going to happen. I'm so sorry. He's a bad person. And I, for one, I will sign up. Give me all the bad people in the world if it's a pro sport and I'm getting the best of the best in terms of talent. I'm not sure that he's that at 31, and I do know he's certifiably crazy. Unless he's willing to give me his cell phone for the duration of his contract, he's not going anywhere. And the Ravens would be horrible, but just to get us back on point, I don't think they're his kryptonite in terms of he fears them. Any team that can put points on the board at the rate that the Chiefs will always pose a threat directly to a Lamar Jackson-led offense. He'll be good enough to win just playing quarterback to beat 95% of the teams in the league. But the way the league is trending, there will always be a Kansas City, the Rams a couple years ago. There will always be a team that just has too many weapons, too many schemes, too much for you to handle.
Whenever the Ravens play, when they're playing down, and you force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, which very rarely happens because the Ravens are always leading games, I mean, it just doesn't look right. I mean, he's not comfortable back there. There was a lot of missed throws. And AB wouldn't have caught some of those passes. He missed Marquise Brown down the sideline. He overthrew him by 10 yards. He was wide open. I don't see AB being the fix for that team.
Yeah, I mean, AB couldn't get along with Ben Roethlisberger, who was willing to force feed him the ball as much as he possibly could. You know, so I feel like if he couldn't get along with Ben Roethlisberger, I really wonder who he's going to be able to get along with. Derek Carr was his teammate in the Pro Bowl as well, and they look good together. It's just like, who is this guy actually going to be able to work with? So
Pete Carroll.
He worked with Ben Roethlisberger for about 8 years. Yes, they grew apart. Just like it's like any relationship, you know, you're going to come apart a little bit here and there. They had a blow up, but in the NFL, when you move on like that,
the guy wasn't showing up to playoff. I mean,
he threatened to punch Mike Mayock in the face. He threatened to punch his GM in the face.
Yes,
he came here for $10 million guaranteed and threatened somebody in a completely different legal case. He has no restraint whatsoever. This isn't sit-ups and curls in your driveway. This is a guy who clearly prioritizes being the man over football or success or really anything that like any average level of intelligence would provide for him.
I agree. Seahawks would be a good fit, but I don't think that the Seahawks even need him.
They don't. That's why he's got no...
Exactly. I mean, this guy's, you know, some of the videos when the cops came to his house and he's yelling at his wife, like Facebook live streaming this. It's like the guy is crazy. I think he's got serious CTE. And he's just off the rails.
Yeah, and Josh Dodd is chiming in here saying that if the Ravens fall behind in a game, they're done, and think that the Ravens need to stop with the 3 running back thing. Nobody gets in rhythm. But I totally agree. I mean, it feels like when the Ravens can't get up in that position and play from a position of like a 10-point lead, they're really kind of, you know, scrambling to try to get something going in the passing game. Sure, Antonio Brown would help that, but I just don't. I think he's too crazy to go to an organization like that and make things work. I don't see that working out.
I'd say go to the Raiders, but he already messed that up.
But here's the thing.
Exactly, or go to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's not going to happen. Go ahead, Frankie.
I was going to say sticking to one running back gets you rhythm, which I think is something that they're sorely lacking almost every time they play the Chiefs. I think the point is if you allow – pick one because they have them in camp. But if you think it's Dobbins, if you think it's Ingram, whoever is most ready to take that, there's something to be said about letting your guy get 20 carries and seeing what he can do with them when you're the Ravens. Just like that's why Derrick Henry gets his touches because one of them he's going to keep hitting his head against the wall until the wall breaks at some point. And they have 2 guys, maybe 3 guys who can do that, but none of them are going to do it with only 10 carries a game.
This offense too is based off the tight ends, and they traded Hayden Hurst to the Falcons. I mean, it's the same offense as it was in Louisville for him.
Nick Boyle's
and Mark Andrews dropped a lot of balls last night, too.
That was the bigger problem.
He did not look good. So Lamar Jackson's safety blanket wasn't there for him.
You know who wouldn't drop balls? Antonio Brown.
You know who wouldn't make it past 7 days because he tweets something stupid?
You know who wouldn't even make it in camp? Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown.
Well, with that is going to do it for us here on Open Season. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and for everybody giving out comments on the bottom of the video. We definitely appreciate that. We'll talk to you next week, next Tuesday. We'll see you then, and take care for now.
I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Ryan Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going